brings me great pleasure to officially inaugurate the National Council on Privatization.
The mandate is one of commercialization, privatization, optimizing government investment.
Welcome to OTNA, your window to information on optimization.
Growth plays a fundamental role in a country's development as it serves as an important indicator of a nation's strength and vitality. It reflects a nation's ability to adapt and innovate, as well as its resilience in the face of challenges and obstacles. A nation with a strong growth trajectory is better equipped to meet the needs and aspirations of its citizens, as well as compete effectively on the global stage. Nigeria is one country that has great potentials, and that's why we're here. Welcome to yet another edition of OTNA, Optimizing the Nation's Assets. On today's episode of OTNA, we will be showcasing the success story of the privatization process carried out by the Bureau of Public Enterprises on yet another enterprise. Recall that in the last episode, we took you to Geregu Gas Power Plant, and we went right inside the plant to see the turnaround maintenance done and a lot of improvement done as a result of privatization. Today, we'll be taking you to Kainji Dam Hydro Power Plant. And specifically today, we'll be taking you on a tour round the dam on the high rising where the water flows. And you are also going to be able to see a lot of turnaround maintenance that's been done and how much this has become better than what it used to be when it was previously being managed. We'll show you what's been done, the turnaround of the mode of operations, upgrades, and lots more carried out by Mainstream Energy Solutions Limited. Join me as I take you to our tour to see what we saw when we went to Kainji Hydro Power Plant. Here we go.
OTNA, optimizing the nation's assets.
This is the control room where all action takes place, where all the equipments, the units, the generators, and all other equipments are being operated. We have a set of operators on duty. This is the schematic diagram of the station, which comprises all the units in this plant. When I say units, I mean the machines in the plant. And if you can look at the headings, we have generator 5, unit 5. We call it 1G5. Generator 6, we call it 1G6. Then we come here, we have generator 7. That's 1G7. Generator 8, 1G8. And in that order, 1G9, 1G10, 1G11, 1G12. So we have 8 installed generators presently in the plant. But then, in order of installation, we have the first generation units. That is generator 1G7, 1G8, 1G9, 1G10 that were installed first. And they had capacity of 80 megawatts, which means that their capacity at that time was 80 megawatts. And that accounts for 320 megawatts. In the voltage generation, we have each unit generated at a voltage of 16 kV. That's the terminal voltage of the generator. So what comes out of the generator is 16 kV. But that is not what goes to the grid because of what we call the losses. And the losses is a factor of current. And we want to, as much as possible, to transmit our power at a very high voltage and low current so that we can minimize the losses.
Initially, we said, let's see where we are in the country. So we visit power plants in Nigeria and we compare ourselves, procedures, this kind of systems, and both hydro and thermal. And then we said, this is not enough, let's go abroad. We visit Ghana, we compare ourselves, and then when we see what we want to implement here, we say, let's do it better. And this is what we have now. You know, we are the largest producers of energy in the country.
President.
Yes, it is not by chance. It's preparation, continuous improvement, every day, every day. This is the result.
If you look at it, that one that's number 5 is called penstock. So it's piped and the water comes into this place. And what it does is that the potential energy of the water stored at the height falls and transforms to kinetic energy of motion. Then it turns the turbine. And from there, we have that's the mechanical aspect. That's converted to mechanical energy. Then the mechanical energy of motion turns the rotor. That's below number 7. Above number 7, you have the rotor. And from that rotor, it's continue to act on the stator. That's the one outside of the rotor, that red one. Then from there, the energy, the voltage is tapped out. You can see it goes out to number 11, which is the transformer. And from number 11, you see it goes down to the switchyard. And the switchyard is just where we have our bus, and is the national grid. That's why we start with the national grid. So what is being generated here now goes to the national grid. And the water that's being used is discharged and goes out from the draft tube to the terrace and outside. What we are doing when we call hydropower station is that we are using water for fuel. We call it our fuel, just what we use your petrol, your diesel to power. And what thermal we use gas. So water we use now goes to Jeba, flows to Jeba, which is our sister station downstream. Okay, this is the plant. This is the powerhouse. We are in the service bay here. This is where we bring equipment to work on. You can see as some of the equipment in there they may not be able to be worked on while inside on the machine. And you have this is a shaft for 1G9. This is a part of the shaft. And these are poles. We call them poles. They are installed on the rotor because the whole rotor carries this. This is the runner blade. So this is where the water that is coming from up, that is piped, because of the potential height and because of the force due to that height coming down without force and that pressure, it's incident on this. And you can see that this is a string, then you begin to rotate it, just like what you have a fan. If you remove your fan from power and you put it where they have wind, you know the wind will turn the fan. That is exactly what is being done. So the water comes and turns it, and this shaft is mounted on top of that runner. So as the rotating is carrying this shaft and is turning it, and the whole assembly is being rotated. I was telling you that we have the 4th generation machines. We have 1G7, 1G8, 1G9, and 1G10. So presently we have overhauled 1G7. These ones are 7, 8, 9, and 10 were totally down. So presently 1G7 have been rehabilitated. So leaving us with 1G8, 1G9, 1G10. So 1G9 is presently being over rehabilitated too. And that's why you see all these things. I didn't mention it, that all this, you are seeing all these things because of the rehabilitation of Unit 1G9. Ordinarily, this place we should have been very clear of any kind of equipment. The shaft is carrying the weight of this the rotor. The rotor is inside. If you go there, it's inside. This is just the top of the rotor itself. So you see, the water that is coming turns the runner with carrying this the shaft. The rotor is mounted on the shaft. Now rotate the whole assembly. What we want is just to create motion by using that water. What you use your petrol, diesel to achieve is what we are using water to achieve. We want to have rotation. So that voltage is creating a kind of potential difference from here to where the load is needed. So we take the load from here to where it is needed when we create that voltage. Where we are now is the 11 kV floor, where we have supply for our station use. But before Mainstream took over, being given the right to run the plant by BP, this place was in total mess and in chaos. There are cables flying around, and you can see most of the equipment have been obsolete and not even functioning. Most of the breakers are not functioning. But now, after taking over, Mainstream has installed these brand new panels of 11 kV panels, and which are transformed this place to a modern operating switchgear where we operate our 11 kV. These are some of the 415 controls for our operation for our plant use. 400 station auxiliary starter board, but this one is still going to. We are still changing it with 1G9 rehabilitation. By this time next year, this one will not be here any longer. We'll have changed it to a modern switchgear. So we started with this, and we will complete it with this, and we have a brand new switchgears, both 11 kV and 415 volt board. This is a transformer deck, and we have two sets of transformers. We have the power transformers. This is a transformer deck where we have the transformer that we use to transform the voltage from the 16 kV that comes out of the generator to a higher voltage of 330 kV that we take to the grid to minimize losses. So after we do consultation with our consultants and with dam experts, we have the clearance to be able to increase the height of the dam by 10 centimeters, and so we increase from 173 to 183 meters. So now we can go to as high as 183 meters above sea level, and that's a huge advantage because we're able to store the quantum of water at that level for additional generation. Because after the rainfall, when there is no longer the white flood, we begin to deplete the dam itself, So that gives us advantage that we have a additional level. Yes, upstream and downstream, we have communities that settled along the banks, and some are engaged in agriculture. Some of them are fishing. Some are using it for irrigation during the dry season. They use it along the banks.
Now, to ensure the optimal safety of this dam, and considering the volume of water that has been impounded here, which is about 12 billion cubic meters of water behind this structure, Mainstream, as part of its safety measures in managing the dam, undertook an assessment of the structure. The assessment included ensuring that the spillway gates are functioning optimally, and all the instruments that are embedded in this structure for the purpose of monitoring the safety of this asset were all rehabilitated. That was the first thing we undertook, even before the commencement of the rehabilitation of the generating units. Now, we had several incidences of high flood. We had in 2020, we had even 2012, thereabout. It's a cycle. But we were able to manage them successfully because these spillway gates are functioning optimally. We were able to manage the flood. In fact, in 2020, we had a 1,000-year cycle. That means a situation that happens only once in 1,000 years was what we experienced in the year 2020. But we were able to manage it successfully without any impact or serious impact on the riparian communities downstream. For a structure like this, it is very, very important to ensure that we comply with the highest standard in maintenance. We all are aware of the events that happened outside this country where dams collapse, God forbid, These are all lessons for us to learn. So thanks to BPE that they privatized these assets and allowing, funds and expertise, to be deployed. If you compare with the situation we, inherited from the government when these assets were under the then NEPA or PSCN, we discovered that most of the instruments were not functioning. The gates were not functioning properly. If we had continued on that trajectory, only God knows what could have happened. But thank God, the BPE, under the leadership of the National Council on Privatization, undertook this privatization process that enabled us to now come and rescue these assets. And we are glad to say we've received a lot of commendation from international organizations for the level of maintenance that has been put in these assets. The World Bank, the international, the Canadian Dam Association, which is a well-known and recognized, Canada is one country that has large fleets of hydropower. They are experts globally. They came here and gave us a pass mark. In fact, a lot of other consultancy organizations came here and got our maintenance process certified. And we believe that this should be something that should be replicated. The government should continue in this trajectory of privatizing assets to ensure the right people are given these assets to manage, as we are managing today.
OTNA, optimizing the nation's assets.
This is a typical health center, which we have built. And then it's attached to a school. Yes, now this is a water supply project. And this is an outreach, medical outreach, where we take care of. This is called empowerment. Yes, where we train people to learn some crafts like carpentry, plumbing, bricklaying. And fortunately for us, many of them, or if not all, have gained employment after this training. And we do it every year. And you can see the area of coverage. Borgu, which is Kainji, where Kainji is located, is Borgu Kingdom. Yauri in Kebbi State. You have Bidda, Jeba, which is the Bidda Emirate, and then Kwantagore Emirate. I want to say that during the COVID pandemic, we were the first to have reached out to the National Hospital, yes, and the Gwagwalada Teaching Hospital with equipment. Yes, now talking about CSR and our general performance, it was deliberate that the Board of Mainstream linked the funding of the foundation to our financial performance. So that means that the more enabling environment we are able to have to do more, the more revenue we are able to generate, the more funds will go to the foundation.
OTNA, optimizing the nation's assets.
I'm sure you would want to know what it was like before and what it is now, to clearly distinguish what privatization does. Take a look at this. What the Kainji hydropower plant was before and what it has become now.
In 1968, Kainji Hydro Power Plant was commissioned as Nigeria's first hydroelectric power plant, strategically located on the course of the River Niger at Kainji Gorge, with 66 meters in height and about 8 kilometers in length, while the reservoir lake stretches for 136 kilometers upstream and has a breadth of 24 kilometers at its widest point. The original plan is to have 12 generating units of 80 megawatts each, totaling an installed capacity of 960 megawatts. But by 1968, when construction was completed, there were only 8 generating units with a total of installed capacity of 760 megawatts. 4 open pits were left open with no generating units installed. In response to this shortfall in the plan, the Jeba hydroelectric power plant was conceived with 6 turbines of 96.4 megawatts each, totaling 578.4 megawatts installed capacity, and was commissioned in 1985. Although this newer power plant helped to alleviate the paucity of electric power, the growing population required more, and as both power plants continued to work non-stop, wear and tear setting, and both the Kainji and Jeba power plants were left without statutory maintenance for over 40 years. This led to a predictable decline in the quality of power supply across the country for decades. In November 2013, Mainstream Energy Solutions Limited took over the 2 hydropower plants, Kainji with 760 megawatts and Jeba with 578.4 megawatts, totaling an installed capacity of 1,338.4 megawatts. through a concession agreement with the federal government of Nigeria. Today, Mainstream Energy Solutions Limited is proud to have restored the energy generation in Kanji to 520 megawatts and increased Jebba to 482 megawatts, making a total of 1,002 megawatts at both plants.
So far, so good. As you've seen what the Kainji hydropower plant was before and what it is now. Indeed, it shows clearly that reforms bring success. At the Bureau of Public Enterprises, BPE, they understand that excellence is not a destination, but a journey. So, the BPE strives to optimize the nation's assets, knowing that while perfection may be beyond reach, excellence is within the grasp. And together, we can make that happen. More reforms and more success as we go on. And that's where we draw the curtain on today's edition of OTNA, Optimizing the Nation's Assets. Join us again next week as we traverse the process for a bigger, better, and brighter Nigeria. My name is Tokwe Ojime. It's bye for now.
OTNA, optimization on the go.